5 other women at this time that I know of.
Right.
And
then we ran into some problems. He went through my phone, and I did have a lot of open doors.
Most ladies in Judge Lake's paternity court expect their partner to be the father of the child in question. Some men also have this opinion, but others have witnessed cheating allegations, creating paternity doubts.
Here to prove that Mr. Birch is the biological father of your 23-month-old son, Unai. You state that you have had a romantic relationship with Mr. Birch since 2009, and his paternity denial makes you furious.
yes, Your Honor.
In cases like this, the man could come up with different excuses to back his doubt, but an outrageous fact supported this man's doubt.
Mr. Birch, you claim that Miss Cochran and you never had a relationship and were only friends with benefits. You were not having sex with her during the window of conception and are here to prove you are not the father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The relationship lasted for 7 years, and Judge Lake is confused why the man would have doubts.
Your Honor, we only had a friends with benefits since we first started. And I made it clear to her. That's what I wanted from the beginning.
The plaintiff does not dispute the nature of their relationship, as stated by the defendant, but she wants him to do more.
And I understood that Mr. Birch did not want any more children, and I was fine with that. But it is said and done now. I'm here today to let him know that this is his child, and I would appreciate if he step up and take care of him.
Judge Lake does not seem to understand how the parties survived a relationship with these doubts, and they sought to clarify.
For how many years?
7 years, Your Honor.
7 years.
7 years.
Of no commitment.
No commitment.
Just being friends.
Just being friends and having sex.
And having sex. Unprotected sex.
Unprotected.
The plaintiff claims the parties were supposed to be in a relationship and move to a new city, but the defendant refused.
Actually asked me to be in a relationship, and I told her I wasn't ready.
Your Honor.
You didn't have a plan to relocate together and be in a relationship.
The plaintiff complained to the defendant about his relationship with other women, but he assured her that if she loved him, she had nothing to worry about.
My friend, and after today, either we're gonna get stronger or we're gonna remain what we've been. That's just how I see it. Mr. Birch is the first man I ever loved. Hopefully he's not the last.
The plaintiff claimed she was more attracted to the defendant due to their age differences, but soon learned her lessons that this does not matter.
I come to find out over the years that older men are just as sneaky as younger men.
But I never snuck anything towards her. I was honest with her the whole time.
Honesty is not in his policy, Your Honor. He was never honest. He was honest that he didn't want to have a relationship, but he was dishonest about a lot of things, Your Honor.
The plaintiff hoped the defendant would get interested in being in an official relationship with her as time passed, but that never seemed to happen.
I asked him then, how can you be in a relationship with her when I just asked you 4 months ago to be in a relationship with me? And he said he wasn't ready then, but he was ready now.
The defendant had an intimate relationship with the plaintiff while in another relationship with a woman in another city.
If you don't want to be bothered with that woman, then why are you coming over and having sex with her more than one time in a week? You know that only fuels the love she has for you and makes her think there's a possibility.
Men in paternity courts also claim the lady might have been pregnant before having an affair with them, and this fuels their paternity doubts.
The morning I left for Tennessee, she said, I had sex with you, and I had sex with him the night after. And I'm like, huh? I was like shocked, like, really?
After the baby was born, the plaintiff never spoke about the possibility of the other guy being the father. She was focused on the defendant and his responsibilities as a father.
And Mr. Birch had texted me wanting to see me, and I was on the other line with her, and I said, my old man's texting me, I'm about to go see him. And she said, don't give in to him, you're being a mashed potato.
The plaintiff used the calendar to explain her conception period and why she vehemently claims the defendant is the father.
Outline.
On the 5th of October, Your Honor, that was my girlfriend's birthday from California. Best friend and my mother would not know that I went back to Mr. Birch and had sex with him again, so I wrote mashed potato.
You know what? I don't know why she didn't brought Magnum condoms with me.
Because we didn't use no condoms, Your Honor.
The plaintiff admits that she did not list a father on her baby's birth certificate, but that does not affect her claims against the defendant.
Eunice Jean Lewis Cochran.
And I never even heard about him being the Lewis Cochran. That's something new to me.
I told him, but he never believed it.
You never knew?
I never knew. He has my first name, but not my last name, though. That don't make any sense to me.
I wanted him to sign his son's birth certificate at his own free will.
Look, that is admirable.
The defendant also based his paternity doubts on the baby's skin color, as it contrasts with his own.
Skin color may not match, but Mr. Birch had asked if he could claim that skin color on his taxes.
Ooh, I know that's right. Uh-oh.
And she straight told me no.
Now you know. That's ignorant. That's a lot of nerve.
It is.
Okay.
The DNA result was ready, and Judge Lake needed to reveal its contents to settle the paternity doubts.
It has been determined by this court. You are not the father.
Oh, Lord.
Ms. Crocker?
I apologize.
And I accept your apology.
The relationship between partners in a paternity court is always sour because of doubts regarding loyalty. This doubt could take different forms, but does not permanently derail the paternity of a child.
You claim that after giving birth to your twins, Brayley and Bishop, Mr. Downs denied fathering your babies. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
As much as the lady feels she had some strong claims against the defendant, he also has some valid points on why he doubted the paternity of her child.
You say Ms. Looper carried on a secret relationship behind your back up until she found out she was pregnant, and there is no way you are the father of her twins. Is that
Yes, Your
correct?
Honor.
The plaintiff claims she thought she found the perfect churchman when she met the defendant. It is not so at the moment. Then, Judge Lake asked her to explain how things changed.
Did think
Explain.
I found the perfect family man, but I soon found out that that wasn't the case. Then we ran into some problems. He went through my phone, and I did have a lot of open doors.
Open doors. So you still had other relationships that you had not quite cut off.
Absolutely.
The plaintiff was making a case because the defendant initially changed towards her for no reason. However, her explanation seemed to be taking a new turn.
Absolutely. This was 2 weeks after we started hanging out. So we weren't in a relationship, we weren't together. So I did still have open relationships with other men while I was beginning a relationship with Mr. Downs.
The plaintiff claims that when the defendant went through her phone, they were not in a relationship. But how did he get access to her phone?
Phone.
I was at her house, and just something told me to pick up the phone, and I did it. And I'm looking through the phone. I'm like, okay. And I bring it to her, and I'm seeing messages from other dudes and all this other stuff. So I'm like, what is this? Messages are just trying to, hook up with her and, stuff like that.
Because the defendant already saw these messages on the plaintiff's phone, the relationship seemed to have developed issues. Then, Judge Lake also asked how they survived to have a baby together.
The relationship changed tremendously, though, after he went through my phone. Our vibe was different. We weren't hanging out as much. When I found out I was pregnant, I called him and he didn't even answer. That's where we were at.
So how did he ever find out?
I sent him a text message. He was really nonchalant about it, but
The defendant was there for the plaintiff during the pregnancy and performed his role at that moment.
Cedric rubbed my feet, rubbed my belly. He would get up at 2 a.m., go get me ice and hot Cheetos. He took me to every ultrasound appointment if he didn't have work. The pregnancy was good. We moved out of my 2-bedroom apartment. We got a 4-bedroom house. It was good.
The parties' testimonies in paternity usually focused on what caused issues between them, but Judge Lake is more concerned about how they reconciled and moved forward.
There's still a chance that they're mine, so I'm not gonna build this whole little case upon my doubts, and I'm still gonna be there until we find out what's what. So I was still gonna be there by her side until we figure it out.
When entertaining cases like this, Judge Lake asked the parties about the day the twins were born and how they reacted.
Do you guys do DNA tests here? I've never had a kid come out that light. That's the first thing he said when he seen her.
So when you saw Brayley, you had questions instantly. You didn't feel like you could be her father.
I mean, and I know it don't really matter about the complexion and stuff, but like I said, all my kids favor me just extremely, you know what I'm saying?
The defendant doubts intensified on the day the twins were born, but some of the facts made him believe a rare medical occurrence was possible.
I looked at Bishop. I seen more Bishop in me than Brayley, and at the same time, like I said, I know there's another man been involved. I just couldn't come all the way to terms accepting both of them or either which one. But like I said, the reason for Bishop is, like I said, he just favored me, so that kind of detoured me from questioning him.
Following these testimonies, Judge Lake then asked if the plaintiff had informed anyone else that he could be the father of her twins. Her response raised an eyebrow.
We were together the whole time. The timeline, everything just added up. After I had the baby, I posted Brayley on Snapchat, and the other guy who the messages he's seen wrote me and sent me a picture of his daughter and told me that, I believe that that's my daughter.
The doubts regarding the plaintiff twins' paternity were compounded by her statements during her relationship with the defendant and just before she gave birth.
Did I even have any kind of this doubt? Because like I said, when she first told me that she was pregnant, I had asked her, I said, so are you for sure and for certain that I'm the only man? And she very, very quickly told me, yes, you are the only one. So even with that being said, I'm just like this. This is 2 weeks into us dating, and I'm not using protection.
For Judge Lake, one major issue she wants parties to explain during paternity cases is the birth certificate signing. She understands that signing the birth certificate could mean a man accepts the child.
He never signed a birth certificate.
I was at work. I would have definitely put my name on
You
it.
were at work. Before you leave the hospital, you need to sign a birth certificate. He never asked me about a birth certificate. He never signed it. His cousin took us home from the hospital. If he wanted to sign a birth certificate, he could have asked me to
bring
do
it
it.
out. I can't.
I didn't even sign the birth certificate.
Did you
before I
not?
The defendant claims that the paternity doubts were a significant detriment of his actions regarding the birth certificate.
Me being a father, like I said, I've never had to deal with any suspicion of any of my other kids. So I've never had to go through wondering, okay, well, am I going up here to see somebody else's kids, or am I going up here to support her for her and her other dude's kids, because he needs to be here if that's the case.
The defendant then informed Judge Lake that he believed he could be the father of one twin, and the other guy would be the father of the second twin.
I felt a much bigger bond with my son. And Brayley does too, to an extent, but it's just something about my son, man, when I see him, and it's like we connect.
The plaintiff informed the judge that the twins are fraternal, and it is medically possible for them to have different fathers.
And I mean, like I said, we had a good time. I bonded with both of them, but like I said, it's just something about my son that makes me feel like that's the one that's mine.
So
The plaintiff left the defendant and moved to a new city. This confused Judge Lake about why a woman would leave the potential father of her twins.
I just felt more comfortable going home. I was unhappy in the relationship. Like, it wasn't working.
Your Honor.
so you went back home.
Correct.
The defendant claims the plaintiff never informed him that she was moving to another city, and he then narrates what happened when she left.
I get text messages, phone calls. Hey, baby, what are you doing? We miss you. We love you. Da-da-da-da, this and that. I didn't get nothing one day, and I just knew something was wrong. So I get to my house, and there's nobody there. So I'm thinking somebody done came in my house. Anybody could have did something to my kids, my girl. So I'm like, man, what's going on?
The plaintiff is in court claiming that the defendant is the father of her twins, but her actions do not seem to support that fact.
Where do I have to go? Nowhere. I had nowhere to go in Kentucky. The only place I had was 3,000 miles away. I just delivered twins. Like, I had 2 babies and nowhere to go. That's how I felt.
Right.
At this point, Judge Lake needed to read the DNA test results to settle all paternity doubts between the parties.
5-month-old Brayley Downs. It has been determined by this court, Mr. Downs, you are not the father.
Because they were fraternal twins, the DNA tests were conducted separately, which meant there was one result left to be read.
5-month-old Bishop Downs. It has been determined by this court, Mr. Downs, you are not the father.
This is one hell of a reveal in the history of paternity court. The defendant had high hopes that at least one of the twins could be his, but now he is left with none.
Do you know who the children's father is?
Yep.
But I've been here since the whole time, though.